Yo, 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 Algebra 1. I hope you're having a great day so far. This is 1.2, solving multi-step equations. I'm hoping that the last section wasn't too bad for you. This one is almost exactly the same. I just got one additional step for you. All right, so if last section wasn't bad, this one should be okay. Here's what I got. I have items like I had yesterday, and I'm going to try to. And you'll notice that I have equations. Remember that equations are mathematical sentences where I have expressions on each side. So like I have an expression here, an expression here, that I have set equal to each other with an equal to sign. And what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to put a dotted line right down the middle like I did before. Some people are like, do I have to do that? It looks cool, all right? And I'm going to do 2 steps to answer this question and to solve for x. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a hint. I'm going to look at this x here, and you'll notice I have 2 operations. I got this times sign here that's in between the 2.5 and the x, and then I have this subtraction sign. Okay. And I'm always going to deal with the addition and subtraction sign first. Okay, so time sign is important, but we'll deal with that second. Let's get rid of this subtract 13, okay? I'm almost going to pretend like that 2.5 isn't there. And let me see if I can scratch that out. Just for a second, don't do that to yours, but okay. And what would I do to solve this? Well, yeah, I would do the opposite operation of subtract 13, which is add 13, okay? Now I'm going to put that back because I can, I think. I took a second, but okay, so I'm going to add 13 and add 13. Cool. All right, and the reason why I do that is because I want these to cancel out. Subtract 13 plus add 13 go away. And let's see, 2 plus 13. Can't do that in your head, no problem. You can use a calculator. That's not against the rules. 2 plus 13 is 15. Now, typically I would bring down the x, but the x here is not alone. It's got this 2.5 with it. Okay. And now I'm going to do the second piece. Okay. I'm going to do either a multiplication or a division problem. And I'm going to ask myself again, what was in between the 2.5 and the x? Well, you're right. There's a times sign. If you don't see something there, then we imply it's a times. And that means I have to do the opposite operation to multiply, which means I have to divide. Now, some of you will look at that and you're like, I have no idea how to do this decimal in my head. Well, that's cool, okay? Use your calculator if you want. If you really wanted to be cool and try to do it otherwise, what you do is you have to move this decimal over a spot. That gives you 25. And then you have to move this decimal over a spot. And if there's nothing there, you'll put a 0 there. Okay, so you got 150 divided by 25. Basically, how many quarters, that's what 25 is, 25 cents, go into $1.50? And if you did your calculator, or if you thought about it in the sense of quarters, you got 6. Okay. But again, use your calculator if you would like to. Let me skip this one for a second, and let me go to the third one. Okay. I'm going to put a line down here like I always do. And my variable, my letter that I'm solving for, is right there. It's n. And again, I got 2 steps, okay? 2 steps to answer this question. And I'm going to look at my little key here. The first step is either to add or subtract. So let's look here. It looks like here I'm adding 3. So the reverse step for that is to, which we call the inverse operation, is to subtract 3. Okay. These will go away. And then I'll just take 9 minus 3. This is an easier one to do. 9 minus 3 is 6. And am I done? Do I just bring down n? No. No, you got to bring down the item that's with it, which is, in this case, a -2. And then I'll go to my second step. The second step is either to multiply or divide. And since I'm already multiplying this n by a -2, I will divide by that same thing. So I'm going to put a -2 here and a -2 here. And I know what 6 divided by 2 is. That is 3. And remember, when I do division, okay, if I have one negative sign within my work, then that means my answer is negative. If I had 2 negatives, then I would get a positive. That's always true for this rule, okay? All right, first two okay? Hope so. Okay, let me do this. I'm gonna go to the one that I'm hiding underneath me. All right. And let's see, I'm gonna put a line right down the equal to sign because I like to. All right, I'm gonna ask myself what's with the x. Well, it looks like a 1/2 times. Then I have this subtract 11. Okay, so what am I gonna do first? Well, I'm either gonna do the addition or subtraction. So if it says subtract 11, I gotta do the opposite. I'm actually gonna work on this side first because that's where the subtract 11 is. It's with the x on this right side. So opposite is add 11, of course. Cool. Those go away. I got a 1/2 x coming down, and that's 1/2 times x. All right, and this one here, negative 21 plus 11. Some of you are good about doing those in your head. Some of you want to use a graphing calculator. Go right ahead. The idea, though, is this. If your signs are different when you're adding and subtracting, that means you're really going to take these two and subtract them, subtract their absolute value. So really, you're just going to look at 21 and subtract 11. And that gives you a 10. Okay. And then you ask yourself, is it a positive or a negative 10? Okay. And is it going to be a negative 10? And not because the signs are different like you saw down here. It's a negative 10 because you look at the sign of the bigger number when you add and subtract. Okay. Now, I'm not done. Some people do this part perfectly and then they stop and like, cool, here's my answer. Not quite. How do we get rid of this 1/2? Well, when we had fractions 2 days ago, the way we got rid of a fraction is by using a product of a reciprocal. Reciprocal. And remember, reciprocal just means you take this fraction, you keep the sign, but you flip it. Okay? You're going to multiply that to both sides. Okay? So 1/2 times 2 over 1, these go away. That's why you did that step. Okay? And you're left with x is equal to 2. You put a 1 here if you want to make it a fraction times fraction. 2 times 10 is 20. 1 times 1 is 1. You can put a 1 underneath there if you want, or you could leave it without. Okay. And then remember, a positive times a negative is just like a positive divided by a negative. Okay, when you multiply and divide by numbers, and one of them is positive, one of them is negative, that means your answer is negative. Okay. Sometimes it's good to box your answer in the end because there is a mess of work. Okay, and it kind of lets the person grading your paper, like me, know what your solution is. Okay. Now, some people look at this and say, ooh, I could maybe do some of these in my head. Can I do some in my head and just write x equals negative or n equals -3? No, you have to show me this stuff. Okay, so make sure you show me your work. Okay, you're going to get points for that as you input that into your Google Classroom, even if you're doing your answers on our Clever website. Okay. All right, we'll all agree this last one's a little bit different, okay? Notice that you have this division sign covering the whole left side. You're like, no. If that happens, okay, what that means is you're gonna do the reverse, okay? You're not gonna add and subtract first, you're actually gonna do the multiplication and division, okay? That's why I say that one for last. So the 4 is on the bottom, which means you're taking this big chunk here and you're dividing by 4, okay? The opposite of dividing by 4 is multiplication. So again, this is the one time when you have this big fraction covering the whole bottom where you're going to do the reverse operation. Okay, you're going to do this part first and then the plus minus second. All right, so those will go away. 4 times 10. I'm going to guess that's 40. All right. Okay, so, and then the second step is to solve for x. What do I do to get this x by itself? Well, I got this +3. Opposite of add 3, the inverse operation is to subtract 3. And so 40 minus 3 is 37. Wow, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so there's your answer. I'm going to box it, and we are done. All right. Hopefully you don't have any questions, but if you do, no sweat. Maybe pause it or maybe rewind it and look and see what we did. And sometimes seeing the problem done a second time helps you understand a little bit better. Okay. Give that a try if that's something that may be helpful. And that's what's nice about having a video. You can check your work over again by just rewinding this a little bit. Okay. No rush. Next set. And again, I'm always in the way. Why am I always in the way? There, better. All right, solve each equation. Now, here's what makes these a little different. And gosh, I'm kind of sick of red. Let's do a different color. How about blue? Okay. I'm going to make my line like I did before. No sweat, same stuff. And if you notice on the left side, I do have a variable. There's an f there. So the difference, though, is that I don't have one f. I have two terms that have an f with it. So let's do this. Let's simplify this left side a little bit so it looks a little bit more clean. Okay. If I have 5 f's, look, there's 5 f's, and I add to that 4 more f's, how many f's do I have total? If I add all these up, well, it looks like I have 9 f's. Okay. Minus 8 equals 19. Okay. And now I've got 2 steps to solve for this. Okay. I'm going to look at what I do first. I've got a plus sign or subtract sign, the sign I got to work with. And then the second piece is multiplication division. So plus or minus, that would relate to the 8 to start with. And so how do I get rid of the subtract 8? Well, I'm going to add 8. Okay, so let's see, 19 plus 8. You can use calculator, like I've always said. You can use your fingers too. That gives you 27. All right, gone. All right, what comes down? Well, not F, but 9F. Okay, and how do we get rid of our 9? Well, the operation that we assume is between the 9 and the F is a times sign, so the opposite of multiplication is division. Okay, here is our F, and 27 divided by 9 is 3. And you do that. Okay. All right, try this one. Same idea. There's my equal to sign, putting a line through it. But notice that my x, my variable's on this side instead. So, same as before, if I have 9 x's, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I take away 6 of them, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sorry, 6. How many x's do I have left? I have 3. People are like, do I have to do this? No. Okay, plus 15, I'm gonna bring that down. So again, now I have a problem like I have before. 2 steps, let's take a look over here. First step is to either add or subtract. So on this right side where I have the x, I got to subtract 15. All right, so 3x comes down. Ooh, I do not like that. What should we do? No, you cannot skip it, move on to the next one. What should we really do? Well, here's the deal. If the signs are the same, you've got to add them, okay? So I have a negative 12 and a negative 15. That is 27. And again, you always pick the sign of the bigger number when we add and subtract. And since 15 is negative, so is my answer. If you imagine a number line, some people like to look at it this way. Here's negative 12 to start with, okay? Because that's what I'm beginning with, negative 12. And if I subtract 15, what that means is, subtract means go to the left. I gotta go left 15. Okay, where does that finish? Well, that will finish at negative 27 if this distance here is 15 away to the left. So that's another way of looking at it. And no, we're not done. How do I get rid of this 3 out front? You have to divide. Boom. Okay, now I know that 27 divided by 3 is 9. But a negative divided by a negative, you have two negatives here. Your answer is a good, positive. Now, do I have to write a positive sign here? You can, but you don't have to. Are you getting this? I knew you would. All right, let's keep going. 4 of them. Oh, jeez. We created this. Okay, so here's the first rule, all right? Because we got some new stuff here. We got some parentheses. You're like, what the heck? There's 4 problems of these too. Remember, this involves what we call the distributive property, which is down here. I don't mean to cross that out. Sorry, it's just bad pen. I'm going to use my eraser because I can. Let's use green. All right, so distributive property. If you don't know what this is, let me show you what's going on. You're going to take this number on the outside, and since there is a times sign between the 3 and that parenthesis, I'm just going to take that 3 and multiply it by the x. What's 3 times x? You're right, it's 3x. Okay, recopy that sign, plus, and then I'm also going to do it to the second term, 5. 3 times 5 is 15. Do you remember that? All right, good. All right, so here's what I got. I'm going to have to take this set of parentheses and eliminating them by using the distributive property. Okay, so 2 times 1 is 2, and I'm going to bring down the sign, subtraction sign, and let's see, 2 times negative x, you're just going to put those together, negative 2x. Bring down the 3. Now the 3 doesn't get multiplied by 2 because the 3 is not in the parentheses, so just bring that guy down. Okay. And like my previous screen, I'm going to ask myself, well, x is on this left side. What can I combine over here? Are there any terms that I can combine? Are there more x's here? And there's not. Okay, so there's only these 2 x's that are negative, and so I'm going to write that down. I'm going to put negative 2x. Bring down that sign. Okay, so that's really subtraction, but it's a plus negative x. Okay, and then I'm going to look at the sign in front of the 2. Is that a positive or negative? You're right, it's positive. And this is a plus 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay, and again, now I have a problem like I had on the previous screens. Okay, so again, I like to get rid of my pluses and minuses first, and then I'll get rid of the multiplication and division second. So if I'm looking at this left side here, I got to get rid of the 5 first. Okay, so these will go away. Inverse operation, if I have plus 5, I got to put a minus 5. Negative 2x will come down, and geez, the signs are the same, so you're going to add. And again, you always pick the sign of the bigger number when, pick the sign of the bigger number. You get negative 13. If you're not confident with that, then put it in your graphing calculator. Negative 8 minus 5. Cool. All right, last step is we're going to divide. Now divide by the same thing. Negative 2, negative 2. Okay, make sure you include the negative with it. Those will go away. X is equal to, now you got 13 over 2. A negative over a negative is a positive, okay? Here's the tough thing about sometimes clever, is that you may think this is the right answer, which it is, it's perfect, okay? But they may want their answer as a decimal. So just know that maybe you have to put this in a calculator and divide it out to write it in one of these 2 forms. You never know which way they want it, okay? If you're like, how do you get this sign on the bottom? Like the break here, the fraction sign, remember that's just a division sign. So if you ever have to type that in a calculator, that's just your divide sign. Awesome. All right, let's try another one because these are kind of fun. You know, it is a Friday, at least for us, okay? Maybe a different group won't be. But imagine the weekends here. Imagine having some type of math party at your house, you know, inviting some friends over and doing some 2-step equations with the distributive property, okay? It's going to be pretty special. And if you like, you have my personal invitation to show this video, okay? All right. Not that I want to be the star of your party, your math parties, but all right. D is on this side over here. Bad arrow, sorry. Okay. And I'm going to use these parentheses here to multiply by 4. Okay, so the 5 will stay out front. 4 times 2 is 8. Yeah, right, good. Don't forget the D. And then 4 times 3 is 12. Put a minus sign in between it. And you are almost good to go on that side. I just need to simplify this, okay? What can I combine? Can I combine anything with a D here, this 8D? No, there are no other Ds, so just make that 8D. And let's see, 5 plus negative 12 is negative, and you can do that in your calculator, 5 minus 12, negative 7, okay? And again, if you don't have a calculator, if you have a calculator or something on your phone like a calculator, use it. Here's 5. If you go back 12, okay, you're gonna go past the 0 and a little bit more. Okay, that distance is 12, and you're gonna finish at negative 7, okay? So, all right, two-step equations. What's your first step? Well, let's see, plus and minus first. Let's get rid of the minus sign, so I'm going to add 7. And so I got 8D is equal to, plus 7 is the additive inverse. 15 plus 7 is 22. Okay, so let's see. I have to decide whether I'm going to multiply or divide next, and because that's my next step. And since the 8 is being multiplied by the D, I will divide. Now you're looking at this, you're like, Mr. Rothery, these don't divide nicely, and they do not. So you can either divide them in your calculator, or if you want, you can reduce it. If I cut the top and the bottom each in half, you're going to get 11 over 4. Or, if you want to write it as a decimal, you'll get 2.75. Okay. I think you're getting the hang of it. Let's do this. Let's just do one more. Which one do I want to do? You'll do them both. Sorry. Okay, so here's what I got. I got to distribute again. Okay, so let's see. 2x times 5. I've never had to multiply with an x on the outside, but yeah, 2x times 5. 2x times 5. That's actually 10x. Okay. And then 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. 2x times 3 is 6x. I could have just subtracted those, couldn't I? Could have. All right, whatever. Okay, minus 3x equals 5. Okay, and let's just subtract the x's. 10x minus 6x is 4x. And what is 4x minus 3x? Well, that's 1x. And your people are like, okay, now you have to divide, and you're right, but what's 1 times anything? It's just itself, and so you really don't have to divide. Okay. All right, last one. I know I lied. I'm sorry. So we're gonna just do 1 to 2, but I changed my mind. Really, it's because the weekend's coming up, and I'm excited about doing these. I know you are. Okay, so here's the trick on this, and this is why this one's important, why I can't escape it. Okay, I know you have to take the negative 2 out and distribute it. So negative 2 times y is negative 2y, and there are no surprises there. The surprise comes on the next piece, and it's not that I know that 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, I know you know that, but it's the idea that this negative times what would be the subtraction sign, negative and negative kind of give you they do give you that positive, that addition sign. Okay, so this here is the biggest mistake that students make in Algebra 1 for this chapter, is that when you have a negative sign that out front that you are distributing, people will sometimes not get this sign right. And imagine doing the rest of the stuff wrong, you know, just because you forgot your negative times the negatives and positive. So just be careful of that. I'm gonna finish in green. Okay, so here's your 13. And let's, Rothery. Okay, let's ask ourselves, negative 2 plus 3 is 1. Okay. Okay. And then how do I get 8 by itself? Sorry, how do I get the y by itself? Well, I will subtract 8. Okay. And 13 minus 8 is Okay, so these actually simplified kind of nice once you started adding your y's together. It was just that awkward first distributive step. Okay, so be aware of that. Sometimes those will exist in your work. All right, quick problems here. It says use the table to find the miles X you need to ride on a bike on a Friday so that the mean number of miles per day is 5. You're like, dang, that sounds wordy. Can I just skip the word problems and do the ones from the previous pieces? No, you can't. You ever heard people's math classes say, when are we ever going to use this? When you do like the problems like we just did? This is when you're going to use it. And it's not that bad, even though you got this intimidating looking chart, okay? But it says mean. Do you remember what the mean is? The mean is the average. Do you remember how to mathematically take an average? All right, so to take the average, what we're going to do is we're going to add the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth together. That's bad. 3.5 plus 5.5 plus 0 plus 5 plus x. Divide by the number of values you have. And if I look, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0 is still a value, even though there's no context to it other than it's just 0, okay? And same thing with x, you're gonna write that in there too. We're gonna divide by all 5 of those. And in the end, it's supposed to equal this number. Okay, you want the average equal to 5, so add them all up, divide by 5. All right, now let's make this nicer. This mess on the top, let's add these up. And you can use a calculator if you want, but 3.5 plus 5.5 is Jedi Reflex 9, okay? Plus 5 is 14, okay? Plus that x, don't forget it. Now, this was from the previous, very first question. If I have a line covering the whole bottom piece, right, do I add and subtract first? No, you have to get rid of this 5. How do we get rid of the 5? Yes, if I see divided by 5 here, it means you got to do the opposite operation. I'm going to multiply by 5. Okay, so these will go away. That's why you're doing that step. 14 plus x is equal to 25. And then you got one more step, which means you have to get rid of the item with the x by either doing addition or subtraction. And since this is positive, I'll do the opposite. Okay, so a positive 14, subtract 14, go away. And that difference is 11. Okay, you're good. So again, that's what an average is. It means add up all your values. Typically one of them is an x. This is kind of like the more mature way of finding an average compared to what you did last year or the year before. Okay, but just set it up like you normally would. Divide by the total number of values and set it equal to the answer. Okay, it's like Jeopardy. You're working backwards. Cool. Hey, this is the last page, I promise you. Okay. All right, let me move myself over here and mix it up a little bit. All right, so the formula D is equal to 1/2 N plus 26 relates the nozzle pressure N of a fire hose to the maximum blah, blah, blah. I can't read it because I have something in between it. It's weird. I have like something that probably you don't see that I see. Oh, you wish we were done. Reaches D feet. How much pressure is needed, okay, to reach a fire of 50 feet away? Okay, so look up here. In a different color? Yeah, me too. Purple. All right, so D is equal to distance, okay, and N is equal to the pressure, okay? So, and here's what they'll do. They always give you one of these two. They'll give you the D or they give you the N. And because this section is unique, they're probably going to give you the D, okay? And it's true, they give you 50 feet. Okay, does feet sound like a distance? It sure does, so let's plug that in. Okay, now, I gave you some directions a little while ago, and I said this. If your division bar covers the entire bottom, okay, like it does here. It covers the entire, sorry, the entire top, okay, with just a single number on the bottom, okay? Then you do the multiplication first, and then you add and subtract second, okay? However, that's not what's shown here, okay? This bar does not cover the entire right side, okay? It only covers this half, okay? So I'm going to do this the traditional way. I'm going to do multiplication and division seconds, okay? Not like I have here, and then addition and subtraction first. Okay, so block this off and ask myself, how do I get rid of the 26? And again, the inverse operation of an addition sign is subtraction. Okay, and you're going to bring down the whole 1/2 times n equals 24. And then you have to ask yourself, how are you going to get n by itself? And if I got a times sign there, the opposite of multiplication is division. So now I don't want to divide by half. You're like, that would be wrong. You could do that. You could divide by half, but what's the rule when I have just a single fraction out here? Okay, yeah, remember reciprocal? Reciprocal. Okay, so what you're gonna do is multiply by the flip, the reciprocal. Okay, so those will go away. You're left with just an n. And let's see, 2 over 1. Now, there's not a fraction here. Let's make it a fraction. 2 times 24 is 48. You can write 1 times 1 on the bottom, but 1 times 1 is just 1. So, excuse me, you're done. I got hiccups. I'm a big ASU fan. I don't know if that reads backwards. It may. Either way, it's USA, which is still a big deal. Okay. But yeah, I'm a big Sun Devil fan. Look at that. Sometimes it's a Sparky, sometimes it's an ASU. Like, how does Rothry do that? Is he a magician? I am a Jedi. Okay, and that's why you can do it. All right. Your school's drama club charges $4 a person, okay, for admission to a play. The club borrowed $400 to pay for costume and props. After paying back the loan, the club has a profit of $100. How many people attended the play? Okay, so let's think about this. We need to know the number of people who attended the play. Okay, well, here's what we got. We get $4 a person, okay? So the number of people who attended, let me just label that. I'm gonna let P be equal to the number of people, okay, who attended the play. Okay, and here's what I know. I get $4 for everyone. So $4 times every person. So if I had 2 people, then I would make $8, okay? Or if I had 100 people, I would make $400. But I don't know how many people I have P people. That's what we're trying to find. So that's why I call it 4P. Okay. All right, so here's what it says. The club borrowed $400 to pay for costumes and the props, okay? And after paying back the loan, okay, the club has a profit of $100, okay? So, man, the club borrowed $400, okay? Here's what I'm gonna do. Let's see. So, here's what I got. It's 4 times P, and what I'm gonna do is I have to pay $400, and if you're paying $400, whatever you're making here, okay, you're actually taking away because it costed you. You borrowed it. You had to pay it back. Okay, so you're already out $400. Okay, you're getting $4 for every person that comes in, and in the end, after you pay this off, okay, you have a little bit of extra. Okay, and a little bit of extra is $100. Okay, so again, you get 4 for every person. Okay, however, you owed 400. Okay. And in the end, you finish with something good. You finish with $100. Okay, so, all right, based off this, if I always do add and subtraction first and then multiplication and division second, don't do that. What the heck? Oh, that stinks. Hold on. Crisis. There's our work. Almost done. Cool. Okay, so add subtract. The opposite of this negative 400, the thing without the p, is 400. I don't know why it switched to red. As long as I get my screens back, I don't care. So let's see. These will go away. I get 4p is equal to 500. And the last step is to either multiply or divide. And since I'm multiplying, the opposite inverse operation is to divide. Okay, and if you divide these out, you can do that in a calculator if you want. Okay, some people like to do it off to the side. That's cool. Down to 0, 2, 8, 5, 125. So watch this. I'm just going to slide that in. 125. That means you had to have 125 people go to this event in order to pay this guy off and to finish with $100 in your pocket. Okay. All right. Hardest part is just setting it up. Okay, I get that. Okay, it takes a little practice. Don't get frustrated if it's difficult at first, but know that all the problems in this section kind of look like this. They're all two-step equations. All right, they're designed that way. All right, here's the last one. It says you have 96 feet of fencing to enclose a rectangular pen for your dog. Okay, so here's what I got. Rectangular pen. Okay. To provide sufficient running space for your dog, the pen should be 3 times as long as it is wide. So this length has to be 3 times this length. Find the dimensions of the pen. This is my last problem, and we can do this. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I don't know the dimensions. Find the dimensions. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to call x is equal to the width. Okay, and that's this side right here, and this side right here, and the length is 3 times x. Okay, because it says the pen should be 3 times as long as it is wide. Okay, so yeah, this is x. This has to be 3x. Now, what do we know about a rectangle? Okay, one of the important features of a rectangle is that the sides that are across from each other, we call those opposites, must be the same. So if this is x, so is that. Okay, just like if I had a rectangle over here, and I said, hey, this side is 2. Yeah, that side has to be 2 also. This side is 1, so is this side. Okay, so this has to be x, so is this. And if the one adjacent to it is 3x, then of course this must be 3x too. All right, now it says you have 96 feet of fencing, which means if you take all these sides and add them up, they should equal 96. Okay, so I'll start here. I've got x plus 3x plus another x plus another 3x equals the total amount of fencing that we have, which you said was 96. Okay. All right, so we can solve by looking at the left where I have all my x's. X plus 3x plus x plus 3x is, well, there's no number here, but remember that is a 1, as is this. That is 4x plus 1x is 5x. That looks like 8x equals 96. And then to do this problem and finish it, you have already done this. You now got to do the second step, which means you have to multiply or divide. And in this case, we will divide. And if you divide 96 divided by 8, you can use a calculator if that's a big number for you, but you do get 12. Now, does that answer my question? Almost. Okay, it says find the dimensions. Well, I know this guy has 12, which means the other side, one opposite, is 12. But how do you find the bigger side? Well, good. I can tell you were thinking it. You got Jedi reflex. It says it's 3 times as long. So 3 times 12 is 36. And that is your answer. All right, I know that was a long lesson. Thank you for paying attention. You're going to have, again, an assignment for this. It is already linked, okay? And so you just have to go to that. Make sure you show your work, okay? Don't make me be the jerk that comes back to you and says, you know what, I know you did clever and you plugged in the answers and maybe they're right. That's a good thing. But I don't have a paper that has the work for it. Put it on a sheet of paper, label it nicely, say, hey, this is question 1. Hey, this is question 2. This is question 3. It's discouraging as a teacher, and I'll make you do it again. If this is your paper and you're like, you put question 1 over here and you don't even label 1, you're just like, here's the math for that. And question 2 is upside down, so you kind of write like this and then you do it backwards. And here's 3 and here's 4 and 5 is part here. But don't do that. Don't make it look good. All right. Some of you are smiling because sometimes you do this. All right. And I'm not going to let you do that. All right. So make sure you turn it in good and clean. All right. All right. That is all I have for you. I know that was a lot, but it was kind of a good representation of everything. Okay. So that when you did your homework or when you do your homework, you're going to be like, you know what? I know exactly what's going on. If you have questions, be aggressive. Ask me during a Google Meets or send me an email. If you don't want to be in front of everybody else, just say, hey, Rothery, help me out. I'll help you out. Okay. I want you to do well. All right. Again, it is Friday. I hope you have a great 2-day weekend for us in school, but a 3-day weekend for math. Okay. So don't wait until Monday night to do it. Okay. I don't see Monday night. Don't wait till Monday night. The sooner you do it, the better you'll do at it. Okay. And further, what is the worst part of homework? It's not the act of doing the homework. It's the anticipation of doing homework. That is the part that is the worst. If it's in your head that you're thinking, oh, I got to do it, if you just do it, then it's off your mind, it's off your plate, and you'll feel good for the weekend. All right. All right. That's all I have to say. I hope you have a great day, a great weekend, and thank you for listening. I can now stop this legally without messing this up.